Noisy neighbours. How you deal with it. Fortunately, we deal with thousands of tenants during the year and landlords, and we've got some solutions for you about noisy neighbours in property.
We do.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's something that we deal with a lot,
Ooh.
don't we?
Friday show where Lisa talks most of the time and Mark just makes comments and facials occasionally.
Speaking of noise, I think that was a noise complaint. I think that was a noise complaint, Mark.
Lisa Novak, Mark Novak, real estate agents on the northern beaches.
Noisy car going by.
Noisy car going
by.
And we're fortunate to be exposed to, or experienced, and to have the experience of being exposed to thousands and thousands of tenants in the course of the year, and their neighbours, strata, noise, Torrens total of regular house noise.
Yep.
And today we're going to give you a few easy solutions on how to deal with this sort of stuff, and just some good old-fashioned advice of what we've learned.
Yeah, so it is one of the biggest complaints that we get. We manage, as Mark mentioned, a significant amount of property, and it is one of the biggest complaints that our property managers get about noise. But even if you are not renting, even if you are not a tenant, the same regulations still apply. So you're living in a house and you've got a noise complaint. Obviously, you can't contact strata or the body corporate, but you can contact the police. So we're going to address some of the issues today.
You can contact strata, but if it's like late at night, you can't get in contact.
No, I'm saying if you're living in a house, there is no strata.
Yeah,
if you're living in a house.
Yeah.
Well,
the police are pretty good. They're
police are really good. Can you imagine? It must be quite frustrating for the police as well. Imagine how many times they get called out to noise complaints.
Oh yeah.
I remember we were at our friend's 50th birthday party a couple of months ago. We were having this beautiful dinner party out in their garden, and we had the parents there. It was actually at the parents' place. Absolutely spectacular dinner party. And at about 11 o'clock, the police rocked up, and my girlfriend walked out with a big piece of cake for them, and she's like, guys, this is definitely not going to be the noisiest party you've ever been to. It's a bunch of 50-plus-year-olds all sitting around. How noisy do you reckon we could be? And anyway, they literally walked in. They were like, wow, what a great party, and then left.
But it is, if you are reckless with your noise in a party situation like that, the fine's not a small fine, but normally the cops have come back a couple of times.
Yeah.
A second time or a third time, and it's like, man, it's just too noisy. So it's quite interesting. But, people do have the quiet enjoyment of their home available to them. And if someone is taken that way, it doesn't matter if it's strata, it doesn't matter if it's a house. There are laws around it.
There are laws around it. So I was just actually reading up about the hours, and there's also a amount of decibels that is considered above a certain noise level. But
very impressive, ladies.
Yeah, looking through and just doing a quick little bit of research, between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is the sort of the tolerance time, I guess. So if you want to mow your lawn at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, naughty, no go. That's a reason for a noise complaint as such. If you want to mow your lawn at 8:01 on the weekend, you are entitled to do so. What have you got there, Mark?
I've got a decibel app, so you can actually listen.
Such a nerd. And can I tell you when, Mark, listen to this for a story. We were at a friend's place for dinner last week and we were all laughing so much. We were there with our kids. We were laughing so much. And Mark's Apple Watch went off and he goes, guys, this is crazy. This has gone wild. We're going to have to keep it down because my decibel counter has gone off saying this noise level is too loud.
How many decibels did that say?
I think it was 80. I'll have to go back. That was my last bit of research. I'll look it up. You keep talking.
Okay, so
I'll look it up.
There's a couple of other things. There's in-law knowing. There's parties, the obvious ones.
Yes.
There's common sense. And I do have to say, and I've always done this, haven't I, Lise? Like, I think
85 decibels.
You just broke that.
Workers must not be exposed above 85 decibels as an average over 8 hours.
You just went over 85 before when I was doing that counter. Wow. So there's also...
Turn your hearing aid down.
There's also, like for instance, my mum moved into a strata scheme. She was in a house for 30, 40 years. And the advice that I gave mum was like, I think was really, really sound, because this is where I see it really come undone with strata. I was like, Mum, whatever you do, just don't upset the neighbours. Don't upset the neighbours. And I know neighbours can be naughty, noisy, and I know they can be, reckless. But the worst thing is when you've got a bad neighbour and you've created that. Now, you may be right, but you sort of won the battle, but you lost the war. So sometimes I find with noise, you've got to have this tolerance. Because you will have a party, they will have a party. You may be noisy, they may be noisy, but there's got to be this tolerance and respect, because if you get these guys on the bad side, we have seen people sell $1 million properties due to the
I've
person
got clients
next
at the
door.
moment that are wanting to sell because they cannot stand their neighbours.
Yeah. How does it go?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think, it starts off where they've done something and then maybe you go and have a word to them and it doesn't get taken very well. And they're like, you know what, get stuffed. We weren't even making a lot of noise, or then they deliberately make noise, to cause that frustration, and this goes on and on and on and on.
Or
but I agree with you, Mark.
Hose each other down.
Yeah. You want to... I'm like, we've never done that to a neighbour, just FYI, but that reminds me of something that Mark did do as a joke at some stage. But when you actually look it up, guys,
your mum did it.
How do you tell? Oh, my mum did do it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, a long time ago in her crazy days. How do you tell a neighbour they are too loud? The best way to resolve issues with a noisy neighbour is also the simplest. Speak to them about it directly. They may be unaware of how much noise they're making, and 100%. A polite conversation about what you're hearing may be all it takes to fix the issue.
100%. You know what? Invite them into your home. Invite them in and say, like for instance, if you've got someone's got a stereo that's loud, invite them into your house and say, do you mind popping in? I just want to, like, obviously, you probably don't even realise, come and have a listen. And
and it may not just be, but Mark, it may not just be noise from their TV being up too loud or their kids screaming. It might be noise from
sex.
I mean, I remember. Oh, actually, we did have one of those complaints
I had one
last
yesterday.
week.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yep. The one tenant moved out from the tenant next door because the guy kept having girls around.
Yeah.
It's all different stuff.
Yeah, it is all different stuff.
We hear it all.
Not only that, but sometimes, people will install air conditioning and they don't realise that the motor from the air conditioning is too loud. Like things like that can actually, and also people are tolerant and not tolerant to different noises.
Refrigeration.
There's certain noises I know that will like frustrate you, Mark, and I'm like, why is that even annoying you?
Well, that used to be the ferry.
Yeah.
I used to get this rumble in the house and I'm like, what the hell is that? And we were not close to the water.
Yeah.
But it was the ferry, like
the vibrations
rumbling through the harbour, and I heard it, you didn't.
No, it didn't. It just didn't bother me.
So it's a bit like dog noises. Some noises can drive dogs crazy.
I agree. So, but what can you do about it? So if you are in a strata situation and you have approached your neighbours politely and you're just not getting any resolution, you can reach out to your property managers. I know our property managers are going to not be happy about this, but that is the process.
Yep.
So you can reach out to your property manager or you can reach out to strata.
Yep.
Now, the issue with that, and that's great when you're a tenant, the issue with that, if you are an owner and you're in a strata situation, guys, please understand that it does get documented. I have just sold a property, and this documentation and complaints was all through the strata report. And as a result, I actually did lose a couple of buyers over it, because the buyers reviewing that strata report going, I don't want to live in a complex where there's disputes and issues going on amongst the neighbours.
Yeah, you can literally see lot 8 has made a complaint against lot 12, and you look at it and go, well, that's the one above. I'm not going to buy lot 8.
That's right. So be aware, and not to say, guys, you do you. We're just here to give you some advice, but in some constructive feedback. But be aware that it does get documented, and so this only will become an issue when you go to sell your property, and there it is documented all through your strata report, and it can be extremely off-putting to prospective buyers.
But I really do have to say on the outset, keep your neighbour like.
Better, the devil, you know.
When you move in, take them a bottle of scotch, cake, I don't know, love thy neighbour, because we see it go wrong so many times in tenancies or with owners of properties, and it's just it's so big to have to lift up your whole life and move it due to the relationship of the person next door that you don't really even see much, but. It's like people go kooky over, like we'll go inside people's homes and they'll go, shh. It's like, we'll go in people's homes and they say, can you take your tie off when you walk in? We don't want them to know it. Like, it's like you sort of want to just love the neighbours.
Yeah. It's definitely the better way. The other thing is, if you are going to have a party, and that makes up one very small part of the noise complaints that we receive, because as I mentioned, it's air conditioning, it's dogs barking, it's tools, it's music too loud regularly, TVs up,
wife shouting at husbands.
That doesn't happen.
No, not with
us.
That
doesn't happen. No, it definitely
husbands shouting at wives.
That doesn't happen either.
Just families shouting at families, because that's what families do.
Yeah, it's funny, your kids sometimes have got very selective hearing, and I will call down the hallway and I'll be like, guys, has anyone unloaded the dishwasher? And no one can hear, so you'll ask louder, hoping that someone's going to hear. But it's funny, they can hear when the Wi-Fi is not on. Like, you'll be like, oh no, has anyone noticed the Wi-Fi's gone off? And all of a sudden everyone responds.
Yeah.
So that's what we call selective hearing. But if you are going to have a party, it's always just good manners to let your neighbours know.
Invite them.
And invite them along.
That's even better. They'll say no, but just invite them.
They might say
They invite them and they tell me, and they're good guys.
But noise complaints, guys, if you're living in a house and you're not in a strata situation, noise complaints at that stage do go to the police. And the police will respond, and they respond usually very promptly, but usually that is after a certain period of time, unless the noise is at an excessive level.
Yeah.
So there is things that you can do about it. We used to have in one of our homes that we used to live in a dog that barked non-stop, and we were tolerant for about a year and a half. Until one day I was like, I can't, it literally was interfering in our life. It would wake up our daughter.
Well, it barked on the way out, and then it barked on the way in. So,
and literally drove us nuts.
Yes.
And our neighbour, who we got along really, really well with, she would go out all the time. And so when she would go out at night, this is when the dog started barking, and it just went on and on and on and on.
But it only barked when she was out.
So it only barked.
She thought she had the perfect dog.
Yeah. Well, she didn't know.
No.
She just didn't know.
How would you know? Like, she's out.
And it definitely did cause frustrations, but, we just tried to work it out, and then we ended up moving as a result of it. But you know, with respect to noise complaints with animals, dogs barking, etc., the council are extremely proactive with it. As in, they're really proactive with it. They will send out someone from council to actually inspect, and they will do something about it. For instance, we had a noise complaint once. There were multiple dogs living in a property. The neighbour would go out and would leave the dogs tied up outside, and they would just bark all day. There was about half a dozen dogs, and they actually did come and do something about it. But they're very proactive as well, really. You know, the police, strata, and council.
Putting the shoe on the other foot of the other person, they just don't know.
A lot of the time,
they just don't know. And even if they do know, like, is it really that bad? It's like, you've got to go through it to see. You've got to go through it to see. And then they would go, oh, that's bad. So it's really just getting that understanding between people, but really try to keep that relationship strong. You know, do the noise complaint with love. Don't do it with conviction. Otherwise, you could stain that very important relationship with your neighbour.
Well, it turns nasty very quickly because, you know, you're coming in saying, listen, this noise is just out of control. I can't stand it. I can't sleep at night. And that person's thinking, well, I'm a shift worker, and that's sort of the time when I'm awake and I want to watch the TV or whatever it is. Yeah, that's exactly right.
You do that, so I'm entitled to do this, entitled to do that. So it's a war zone.
Yep. Always, you get more with sugar than you do with spice. That is for sure. So if you can resolve it amicably.
Saying it's meant to be honey and vinegar.
No, it's not honey and vinegar. It's sugar and spice. Yeah, it's definitely sugar and spice.
Take it from the pros. We manage thousands and thousands of landlords and tenants and neighbours. Protect it, guys. Respect it.
I agree. Yep. So a little bit of advice there. Hopefully that's helped some of you guys out there. Goodness me, lots of stock coming on. What are we in? We're pushing towards the end of October, and I have got a massive dump of stock coming on.
Avalanche.
Yep. For all different reasons. Actually, I want to point some of them out. House in Manly guiding $8 to $8.8 million in a beautiful street. I've got a house in Freshwater that needs work in a phenomenal location. Wilson Street, Freshwater, literally 2 minutes away from Freshy Village. That's guiding 3.1 mil. I've got access from early next week if you guys want to get through.
Cheap.
I've got a beautiful, fully renovated house in Mona Vale that's coming on. I'm going to go up there and do a video from there today. It's about 950 metres squared in a phenomenal location on Mona Road. I've also got a phenomenal house coming on. This one is going to be a very urgent sale, guys. You will see it all over my socials. We're going to have a really amazing guide on there, and that is going to have to be sold within 1 week. So if you are in the market and you've got a budget of up to sort of $2.2 million, you need to contact me. This is a phenomenal property, and someone is going to absolutely nab an incredible property. But I've got lots more. I've got apartments coming on. I've got a wonderful apartment in Manlyvale. I've got a 2-bedroom apartment in DY coming on. Entry level, that's going to be guiding $770,000. We're just doing paint, carpet, and new doors as well. That's all that's off the top of my head at the moment. But I have literally got a huge amount of stock coming on.
I've got brand new warehouses ready in 3 years. All you got to do is put down a 5% deposit.
Right near Bunnings in Forestville. Amazing.
We're buying one.
And storage you've got.
Love it.
Yeah, that's cool actually. That is cool. That's up on our website at the moment. No, it's not. It's not on our website.
Good talk.
All right, I think that's it, guys. Have we covered everything?
Have a great day. Have a great weekend. What are you doing the weekend?
Not sure. Might go try the new. Well, what are we doing? We're married. For anyone that doesn't know.
I'll just do whatever you say. W Hotel. The W.
We might go to the new W and check it out. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she said to me that it was really beautiful. So we might go down there and have a drink.
Sydney. That's a win.
Yep.
That's a win. Another major hotel, beautiful hotel going into Sydney. Great for tourism.
Yep.
Great for commerce for all the businesses around it as well.
I agree. See you guys.
Love ya. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.